Hey everyone, just trying to get organized here. Why is it giving me pop-ups that I don't want? How are you doing, Commissioner?
Not too bad. Running around a little bit tonight. Could not quite make it home. So apologies for the interesting background, but excited to be here.
It's active.
Exactly.
I'll give Commissioner Jones a bit more time to get in. I know he sometimes has technical issues.
Sure.
But mostly tonight's meeting, I just wanted in a public meeting to like go back through the guidelines that were reposted by the Office of the ANC regarding grants and sponsorships. And then I also will read out a few emails of advice or information I got from the Office of the ANC regarding what's approved, what's not, like good examples of like of other grants or sponsorships that have been granted or have been supported in the past.
No, that sounds good. I'm very interested in getting some clarity on what I find to be a kind of disappointing decision from ANC and how to sort of go forward in a way that we can actually, take advantage of this really direct way to make the ANC better off. So
I do see Johnny. I see Johnny just called in, or he's in the attendees list. So he's around. There you go. Hopefully he can get elevated. It seems to be where things go awry. All right, look at us, got together.
Full committee on time.
Hi, Commissioner Jones. It's getting there. So I think I will go ahead and share my screen. Let me just double, because I am keeping an eye too if any of our, we can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. So I think I have it ready. Okay. Is this what I want to share? Yeah. So let me go up quite that. This is a problem at work. I use a very different. Okay. All right. Are you seeing like a PDF document? Okay. So this guidance was reposted by the Office of the ANC, and I think Kent Boyce, I might always say that wrong, emailed this out to all commissioners last Friday. I think it came in our emails. It's not technically new guidance, it's guidance that they have had. They're just sort of, I think they modified some of the language because there had been some recent decisions that they footnote in this guidance as part of like the reason for that. So it's updated in the sense that some of the documentation or things are added to like clarify their guidance for ANCs. So I just wanted to go over this a bit again in a like more public meeting and for all of us to sort of see, because I think if people approach our ANC to ask about grants or sponsorships, it's good for us to sort of understand what's going to maybe pass through the OANC and what will not. Because again, like we as an ANC can vote to support it, but then it goes to the Office of the ANC and then they review it and they can actually deny it. And so that was what was going to happen with two of the grants that we had approved, the one for food prints, which was part of Marie Reed PTO, because there's anything with food and has the possibility of purchasing food is a no-go. And then we'll get into some of these elements that has to have a public benefit. And it was a similar issue for Platform of Hope because the computers that the money would have been used for would have been for private use of a select group of people and not for the public benefit. So I won't go through all that language up there, but the thing I wanted to just sort of point out was the 5 specific requirements for the grants. And this is where we sort of hit some issues with the current grants that we had supported. So they have to have 1 public purpose. So ANC grants, like other expenditures, not for the maintenance of the ANC office, must be for the public purposes within the commission area. A public purpose is one that benefits the community as a whole and is not done for the primary purpose of benefiting a private entity. The OAG has explained this, but this does not preclude a grantee organization from receiving some indirect benefit from the grant as long as the public is the grant's primary beneficiary. It must also have local benefit. A grant must benefit persons who work or reside in the commission's area. This does not mean that the grant may only benefit commission's residents. It simply means that the grant's benefits should focus on those residents. The proposed project, a grant must be for proposed project. The word project means a grant must be for a specific undertaking for general support for an organization. And the word proposed means that the grant cannot reimburse an organization for expenses connected to an existing or completed project. So to sort of connect this a little bit before we go to the other ones, that proposed project was also what was an indication with the Marie Reed Food Prints grant, because it's an ongoing program that they have at the school. If it had been for a very specific event, like a one-time event, and if we were going to maybe support helping to pay for the rental of chairs for a public event, that probably would have been more acceptable because it's an ongoing project. That was another reason it was going to get flagged. Organization, a grant must be to an organization, not an individual or government entity. All the organization need not be incorporated. I think we got that. That actually, I go through a list of examples of what's acceptable. So I thought that a group did have to be incorporated or designated as a 501c. But so this would mean that if a community group wanted the ANC to grant them money to buy plants to do a beautification project, that would actually be an option. I thought that they had to be a nonprofit to get that, but that actually opens up the door for that kind of possibility. And non-duplication, a grant must be for services that are not duplicative of any that are already performed by a district government. An ANC grant thus cannot fund services that the district government already provides. So I think that we sort of knew, but for what I've seen from the grants that we had submitted and what the ANC had grants that had been supported in the past, which may or may not have, maybe they shouldn't have. What seems to trip some of ours up is the public purpose, because it has to be something that is open to the public. So like a program, because the Marie Reed Food Prints is only available to children and families at that school and not open to children at Oyster, that would be another flag. And I'm just using these 2 specific examples. I'm not trying to like highlight them as bad. I think they're both great. These were the things we were flagged for. So it basically has to be something that anybody in the public, particularly in our commission area, would have access to participating in. Doesn't mean they'll show up. But that was the other issue with the computers for Platform of Hope, because those computers wouldn't be available to any member of the public within our commission. I think those are the big. Any questions on those? And I can definitely go through the list of ones that have been approved, but any feedback or questions on those, or there's not a lot we can't change them necessarily, but I think I'm getting a better understanding of why some of the grants that we've wanted to put up are getting flagged.
Have there been any that you know of that we've given that would not qualify?
The 2 that we approved already would not qualify. So for the Marie Reed platform of the Marie Reed Food Prints program and the Platform of Hope as they are, unless they severely modify their grant application to give public purpose
Oh,
and a proposed project date, like a very specific event date. I'm not sure there is a way for them to modify it much, because that's not the nature of their programs and what they asked for.
I appreciate the very thorough walkthrough and tied to our previous granted activity. I find the new and more strict interpretation a little quite disappointing, in that while it seems like this has been the guidance for some time, many of the grants that have been given or are being disapproved of now have been given in the past. I've heard from other ANCs as well that long-standing grants are now being disapproved. And while perhaps I think it is frustrating to see one of the best ways we can impact our communities in ways that we have historically as ANC commissioners been able to benefit our communities being interpreted extremely strictly in a way that almost, while I'm sure it is great to, get chairs for an event, getting food to kids is a lot more impactful. And I think you can make a strong argument serves the public benefit. And so, obviously there's nothing we can do here tonight, but just, wanted to make sure that my frustration with this new interpretation is publicly important. I think it's very disappointing from the office of the office spaces.
I think it's partially because, there's now an office established. They have some staff that are there. Denise Whitaker, who I went back and forth, she's been great. I'd say she's been really helpful. But she's very new to this position. It's the first time they've had someone specifically in a position to sort of do better oversight of the ANC grants. I understand because it's public money. I get it. And so I think that's why some stuff that had been granted in the past just maybe wasn't flagged in a way that it maybe should have. And now they're sort of doing catch up. She did send me a list of grants that had been approved recently, and this may be helpful for us or any members of our commission who are interested in applying for a grant. This gives you a sense of the kind of grants that have been approved. And so, and as you'll see, they are targeted to a very specific event usually, and it is something that's typically open to they have to be open to the public. So one example, I think this is in Ward 3, and actually sounds pretty cool, and I think it's coming up soon. There will be these statues of endangered animals that have I think you can scan it with your phone to get information about that endangered animal. And so there was some grant funding towards helping that program, and that'll be set up in Ward 3. She said a lot of times for festivals is when organizations get a grant, because it's usually to help, for tent or chair rentals, and it's for a very targeted specific event that's for the public. There was a film event, I believe this is in Ward 4. This is one where I didn't know was available to us, but I think we could pursue. This could be something we definitely pursue in Adams Morgan. Grants for neighborhood cleanups and beautification. So if we work with DPR, we can get their tool library, and then also for trash pickup. But this means that we could be buying plants and ways to beautify tree boxes in other areas, which I thought they had to be a nonprofit, but it appears that we can do that. Block parties, if it's something that a significant number of people in the neighborhood would be attending, and it's available to all, it's a public event. And then there's some, I won't go into that other part, but here's the stuff that has not been approved. So anything that has a fundraiser related to it, so like if it's a PTO, and they would like help paying for t-shirts that then would be sold at an event that's a fundraiser, it does not seem that it's something that we would be able to support. Like, and as you see from her, the ones that have not been approved, they're for a specific issue, because like they were granted to like a particular building or something that would not be open to the public. So like this one, like the event, like example of they grant money to like help fund painting for school auditorium. That would not be something, the auditorium's not available for the public to use and things like that. And then I don't know if this was her using us as an example at the bottom or a different one, but yeah, she put it on the list. so those were examples of things like she also gave. So, but I say like, so I would encourage any groups that want to apply to our ANC for grant funding. Like we do have money in the budget to do it. We just have to be a lot more, help them be more focused about what the specific amount of money they're asking for, and that it's for something that's more sort of in this vein of being more public, a very targeted specific date or event. And then I think we'll have a lot more success getting those cleared. So that's about grants, and then we can talk about that. And then I've got a quick question.
I just, when you talk to Denise, is there an exemption for duplication for MPD? Because
I don't know. Are you like that security one?
Yeah, because off-duty police officers, they're city employees who are paid by the city. That I just don't understand how that could be approved under the rules.
Right. Right. No,
I didn't see that in the guidance.
I totally overlooked that.
Yeah, I just if they're going to be strict on grants, I think they should be strict across the board. I don't necessarily think we need an exception for MPD.
Right.
Maybe, and I don't know if you are planning to talk to them anytime soon. I'm happy to raise that with Denise, and I can ask because I think that's worth just clarification.
Yeah, no, that is a good point. I didn't think of that. Maybe there are different rules around.
What about, would there be a problem with assisting the applicants with their application to make sure that it?
No, we can definitely help with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's better for us too, because then, we spend time bringing them in and I think, I'd rather they be successful and get approved all the way through and not have to spend months and months trying to negotiate this back and forth. Let's see if I can make sure there weren't any. Just making sure there wasn't. So the one another option that Denise brought up, and I don't remember if it was in that guidelines, it might be in a different one. There is also a thing called sponsorships that I've heard that some other ANCs have been going that route more. It does give us more flexibility about how we'd want to spend money to help support local groups or local activities. And generally, like an example of how that would work would be we could like buy ad space in like let's say a newsletter, and the one thing we'd have to do is like buy new ad space, and in that ad we would basically say that our meetings are every Wednesday at this time and have like a link or our web address. And the idea is that if it's an organization that has a very large mailing list, then that's a way it's a distribution, and we can help buy an ad for that. I don't know how much an ad costs. I think in the Hill Rag, it's like maybe $1,200 or something. I did propose this to Platform of Hope because they do have some like I think they were kind of events or ways that you could help support their organization. And one was like they have an annual report and a couple other publications that if we buy a sponsorship to that, then they could publish information about our meeting times within that space. I don't know how big their distribution is, because that is a part of it. Like, it needs to be a sizable enough distribution. But I thought that could be a good option for some of the organizations that have come to us in the past who may not have a grant need that would be met by under these current guidelines, but that could be an option. And I thought, because I'm not sure how people always find out about ANC meetings. Like, I don't really, I know we have a listserv, but this would also be a better, like maybe another way for us to reach a different audience. So that is one option. And I think Platform of Hope is definitely interested in that. The Maria Reed PTO Food Prints, they're looking over some options and what they could pursue. Denise just told me to make sure it's market rate for whatever, like if we're going to try to buy an ad, we don't want to just plop down $4,000. We got to make sure it's like a fair market rate.
Well, how long would the ad run? And where, I presume you're seeing, you're familiar with the organ that the ad would be in? Are we
not? I'm not sure how, but that's one thing we can add. We can. And that's up to us. Like, if we feel like it only goes out once for that sponsorship, but it has a big distribution, if we feel like that's a fair rate and gets to a large enough audience, I think that's something that we can justify. I think we still have to put the sponsorship. That's what I'll ask you. I think we still do need to put that through the office of the ANC, but it does not go through the strict review that a grant review would go through. So it does get a little bit, there is more flexibility with it. Like I said, that's what some other ANCs have been doing.
Well, I'm thinking in terms of the project that we talked about, and I have come to learn that there is a up and coming celebration of 50-year celebration of sorts for Jubilee housing in Adams, or Jubilee housing period in Adamsburg as a part of it. And I was thinking, if they have some sort of organ where they advertise for this event, we could buy an ad or some sort of way in it to have them know that we support them. And that is to be explored, examined with them, because I'm not at the moment familiar with the peculiarities of this celebration. But
Right.
I will have I guarantee you I'll have it by the end of tomorrow. I just had my I've just been able to walk in the last couple of days because I injured my left foot.
Right. Yeah.
And in fact, I finally got an appointment with a doctor tomorrow. But it slowed down diverted my attentions.
Right.
I did reach out to the people we talked to, Linda, the people we better Potters out.
Right.
But I did that yesterday, but I did that yesterday, but I haven't heard back from them yet.
Okay.
But anyway, that's the only end that I see that we can advertise with them, that we support what they've been doing and join in the celebration for their celebration.
Right. Yeah, and I that would probably be easier than trying to get a grant. There was one other thing on the sponsorship. Yeah, I can't remember. The other thing that Denise reminded me about is that so like, particularly for the at-large council members, they have, I can't remember, they call it the pot of money. It's for constituent needs, but you, as a nonprofit in the district or even individual, you can apply to council members, like if they have like funds available to help support projects, you can also submit a request to a council member. My understanding is I don't believe council member Naidu has money in hers, but council member Robert White may have some funds left in his service pot, as they said. And like, it's worth, like, I'm happy to connect people with any at-large council members to help start that conversation. But once that happens, then it's through whatever their processes are. But that is another potential like funding source that groups or charities and stuff could look into if going. And then I don't think their guidelines would be as strict as maybe what the guidelines are from the Office of the ANC. The mayor also has a fund as well, a similar type of fund.
So you're talking about us making an appeal to council person to join with them in the project?
We can direct our constituents or those applying in our area to those council members. Like, but from there, I'm not sure. Like, I think I'd be happy. I think any of us would be happy to make that connection for them. But the process from there, it's up to those offices how it works.
I have one quick question, and this might be better directed to Denise, so happy to do that. But do you know whether this guidance is in like the ANC sort of founding text, or is this guidance that has been developed by the Office of ANC, of the OANC?
That I don't know.
Just curious about sort of where it springs from.
Maybe because they got an office and we're all bugging them. I don't know. Let me check it from that email that Kent sent and see if there's any.
Yeah. Yeah, just largely curious whether, you know, these rules are baked into the grant giving authority in like an ANC authorizing legislation, or whether they've developed this as a set of guardrails over the last
maybe
7 years.
It's possible. Like, I don't know if there had been issues in the past and they're just trying to give better guidance.
Yeah. And if we don't have the answer immediately, I wasn't sure if that was off the top of your head, Chair Hoffman, but I'm happy to look into it as well.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So the email came from the Office of ANCs and it was on Friday, October 20th. But it's signed by Ken. So he says, reaching out to share 2 new documents from our office related to ANC grants. The first is guidance on ANC grants and sponsorships, which is that PDF I was showing you, and that's what's on the Google Drive. And it's also online, so I can reshare that with everyone. While there's nothing new in the guidance, this is the first time we have brought relevant information together in a document that commissioners can both refer to and share with organizations and community members interested in applying for an ANC grant. The other document is the ANC grant application form and instructions, which is also available on the website. By statute, ANC grant applications are to be sent to the OANC in addition to the ANC, and the OANC is in charge with providing the application form to ANCs. The attached form brings us into compliance with those 2 counts as we've asked ANCs to update their processes to include this form. So that is something I might, because right now on our website, we have basically a Google Docs application, which is the same questions that the ANC has, or the OANC has on theirs. So I need to probably reach back out to them and see if we get, instead of using the Google Docs, if we need to use their form instead. Because I just inherited I recreated the Google Docs form that we had before, which that may have been created based on what they got from the Office of the ANC. So it's a little bit of both, right? It's not really new guidance. They've just never really put it all together in one place and distributed it. I guess it was more Wild West.
So you had a chance to examine both of them?
What's that?
You examined both of those? both the Google one as well as the
This,
ANC one?
the Google one that we have up that organizations use, it's the same questions as what they have in their form. But I need, I guess, to double check if they're supposed to use that and not our Google Docs form. But just thinking, I think, yeah. That was mostly what I had. I just wanted to make sure that we, in the public space, went back through those guidelines, give some clarification to those, to you, and then anybody who's watching this or watches back the YouTube video, has a better understanding of if they do want to apply for a grant from our ANC, what they need to keep in mind. And then if they would be interested in our ANC doing a sponsorship, I would highly recommend reach out to us and we can look into that as well. And it seems like the most successful sponsorships is like buying an ad and getting on someone's distribution list and having our meeting times and stuff published. And I'll put that all together, and put it and send it to all of us so we have that information. So I may ask, particularly for Platform of Hope, because they did have a sponsorship option. I'm going to check with Peter to see if we can, I'm going to check back with Judy to clarify what their distribution list is. And I may see if we can get a late addition to the agenda for next week to discuss supporting a sponsorship for Platform of Hope. And then we'd have to vote on it at the full ANC, because we don't have anything we can vote on tonight for them, unfortunately, because we're still trying to figure this out. So I'm going to see if we can get a late addition. Because I do want to, I know they had some financial needs. So I think they had some pretty good sponsorship options. And I think it actually is a good way for us to promote our own ANC and let people know that we're around.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
And then because I was looking at the calendar, our next PSE would be November 22nd, which is the day before Thanksgiving. I assume a lot of people are going out of town that week.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I'm most likely going to cancel it because I think we're all it's right before a holiday. And I just assume that people's schedules, if you're traveling, and I might take that week off. So I'll let Peter and Jake know that too. And that was why I was like, if we're going to do something for Platform of Hope, we need to do it at next week's meeting. Okay, so that's canceled on November 22nd because it's before the holiday. And then December is sort of, we'll deal with December later. But I mean, we're headed into like holiday and when people are out of town.
Yeah,
season,
my mom is 99 years old, and I'm going to go home to be with her for the whole holiday season.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
I'll be gone from the end of November till the very beginning of January.
Okay. Yeah, that is good to know. Okay. Unless there are any questions, I think it's mostly just us. And hi, Brian. I know you're quiet over there, but I see you online.
Thanks for coming, Brian.
Yes. It's part of the job for the bid. But now he knows and can let our, people who are like, hey, this ANC, they have all this money. Actually, we don't. It's really, thanks, Brian. And it's also hard to apparently even get the grants from us anyway.
But it is burning a hole in our pockets. So if we have a grant idea that meets those very, 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 very specific requirements, please reach out. We want to give it away.
Yeah, well, and it's also like, fall festivals, winter events, like if a community group has a very specific event, then I think that's because of the amount of time it takes to process things, and this would be a good time to get it through. But I think now we can sort of put our heads together and talk to community members like that say in the spring. So the UDC has like an urban naturalist program, and they like train people to like help lead projects to do public plantings. And there's been one that's been in touch with us. So this could be an opportunity for us to help support buying plants and other things for that. And that could be done as a grant. And it could be a beautification project. So I think thinking about the spring, there's some good opportunities of how we could use the grant program to support projects like that. All right, well.
Do we
yeah,
have tree boxes?
What's that?
Tree boxes that would support, I mean, well, what I would like to throw out there, if we have tree boxes along the main thoroughfares, and that would be a good advertisement, a good way to, I'm just bouncing off your idea about.
Right. I think, I feel like Jake has mentioned in his ANC or SMD, and I'll search back through the emails because I had told her no, because I was like, you have to be a nonprofit. So now I should go back through that, because there was a group that did want to do some tree box beautification, I think on Euclid. Right, there was some request. So now that I have a better understanding of that, that is something that we could probably support through a grant.
Did it happen? Did they do it? I
don't know, because they found money elsewhere, because I thought they couldn't. I thought they had to be a registered 501. So, but it looks like they did not have to be. Okay. Well, that was most of it. It was sort of short, but not super short. All right. Thank you, everyone. And I'll see you all online next week.
Okay.
All right.
Bye, all.